So for part 3, the last part of this lab number 7, we need to use the Beer's Law portion of the lab. So using the link that I provided in the announcements, this is the Beer's Law lab. So I'll enter this lab now. Now this is a much different setup than what we had in the concentration lab, virtual lab. So let me show you how this is different. Let's switch over to absorbance. You can do transmittance or absorbance, but what does that mean? Transmittance means the light that gets transmitted through this vial. This is known as a cuvette, but nobody cares. So this measures how much light gets through. So this is a container of a solution of liquid. Okay. Now if I click on absorbance instead, this is how much light didn't get through. Right. Presumably the light that didn't get through got absorbed by the liquid in here. Okay, and as you can see, if I increase the concentration, more light gets absorbed. So that's important, right? Now, as I increase the concentration, you could assume that less light gets transmitted, right? Let's see if that's true. Ooh, yes, only 2% gets transmitted. If I decrease the concentration, more light gets transmitted. So that's cool, right? This tool, although it looks like the same tool that we used in the concentration virtual lab, it's not, because look, it doesn't say anything if you are putting the sensor inside the tube, the cuvette, I mean. Oh, but look, it can measure the light, the intensity of the light that is inside the cuvette, and in fact, that changes as I go forwards and backwards towards the light and away from the light. So what's that all about? Notice there's a ruler here. So 1 centimeter of liquid width here gives us 1 transmittance percent, or 1 measurement of absorbance, and that doesn't change no matter how far away from the cuvette I get. The only time that changes is if I change this 1 centimeter. So if I go closer to the light inside the liquid than 1 centimeter, in other words, if I let the light go through less than 1 centimeter of liquid, then I get a different absorbance. Does that make sense to you? The liquid must be absorbing some of this light. So if I catch that light before some of the liquid does that absorbing, then ... So that's interesting, right? Now, what about these buttons? These buttons let you these little arrow buttons let you increase or decrease the concentration 1 micromolar at a time. What about this button? This button lets you change the wavelength. So preset is the best wavelength to use for a given solution. You could see that I can change the solution, and that will change the color. Potassium permanganate happens to absorb the best for measuring purposes in the green kind of light, right? And the drink mix happens to absorb the green kind of light best also. And then this potassium chromate happens to absorb purple light better than it absorbs the other colors. So that's interesting, right? It's kind of interesting, that the color of the solution is almost the opposite of the color of light that it absorbs the best. You can think about that for a while. That's kind of interesting. Now, what happens if I use a different color, a color that is not the best color for measuring absorbance? Well, let's see. Ooh, look, the absorbance is changing because this yellow solution does not absorb turquoise blue light as well as it absorbs purple light. How well does it absorb, let's say, yellow light? Oh, look, it absorbs yellow light almost none at all. That's interesting, right? So anyways, it's fun to play with the virtual lab, and it's important to answer the question pretty completely using very specific details. What is meant by A is absorbance. Okay? What is meant by C is concentration. C for concentration, right? So you should, when you want to answer the question, you should use the preset wavelength, whatever solution you like. I like green. Then you should change the concentration and see what happens to the absorbance. And then it says in here that you should use evidence. Okay, now by evidence, I take that to mean screenshot. So please take 3 screenshots. A screenshot at low concentration, a screenshot at middle concentration, and a screenshot at high concentration. Okay, and that would be fabulous.